welcome back to yet another political episode. So, this is pretty awkward. The Kamala Harris campaign has been making some pretty awkward gaffes lately, from the Tim Waltz stolen valor back from last week. Now today, from yesterday, last night's Kamala Harris rally, where Vice President Harris literally use the same language and the same policy as Donald Trump. Now, weeks ago, 2 months ago, I would argue, I could go all the way back to YouTube if I wanted to, but I'm not going to consume time and expose stuff that I don't want to share because thanks to YouTube homepage. But you know what? We know it's around a month or 2 months ago, Donald Trump made a plan in Las Vegas, same city, where he says, we're doing no tax on tips, on tips. And he even went and introduced it to the RNC, and therefore making that whole entire plan and agenda renowned. Now, a lot of people say, oh, Kamala Harris is copying Donald Trump's no tax on tips policy. She must be desperate. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm being a critical thinker, and we are not trying to be biased because it's important. While studying the Kamala Harris campaign and finding out how we can beat it, we have to be we can be biased. Obviously, we can cheer for Trump, but we got to point out the advantages of the Kamala Harris campaign. And the advantage is the Kamala Harris campaign is in a good position right now. They are polling extraordinarily well. They are polling extraordinary fundraising along with rally attendance, and they have a momentum. They're in a good position. And a lot of it is because we're underestimating Kamala Harris. We go into this thinking, oh, Kamala Harris, she's weak, she is incompetent, and all that. That just fuels the fire. Don't fuel the fire. And we have to beat Kamala Harris, but realize where she comes from. She comes from the grifting state of California. The Gavin Newsom state. Politicians in California are renowned for their sinister plots they have in motion. So when it comes to the said presidential election, we need to really not underestimate Kamala Harris. And a lot of people say she's desperate. She's desperate. No, she's not desperate. I'm going to be completely honest with you. She is trying to grift her way in more. And what she doesn't realize is, you know what? I think there's something she knows that we don't, where she can go and copy Donald Trump and not get hurt at all. And that's a theory that I'm coming up with. Will she get hurt a little bit? Yeah. But realize she hasn't really taken a fall in popularity. Sure, I mean, the Tim Waltz stolen valor seems to hurt her a little bit. But then again, she's making good she is still in the lead. Yeah, her lead's curving a little bit. It's not like that scandal's going to make it go down. But in the end, people say, oh, this is Trump's advantage. Well, guess what? This is also the Harris's campaign strategy to use Trump against him. And what the Harris campaign is trying to do here is they're trying to make Trump go back on his promise. Grifting Kamala Harris is going to continue to utilize no tax on tips, and it's more than Donald Trump. Or Donald Trump, she is hoping, and will Donald Trump do this? I don't think he will. I don't think he would. But they're intending to utilize no tax on tips as much as Donald Trump, where Donald Trump ends up countering it. By countering on it is he will break his promise and eventually say, you know what, no taxes on tips are bad. This is what the Kamala Harris campaign is trying to do. But we'll see if it works, because right now, a lot of people are saying, wow, what a ridiculous move. This is Donald Trump's policy. You're basically agreeing with Trump. You're not saying, hey, I agree with Donald Trump. We needed no tax on tips. No, part of this is middle class, like myself. I come from the middle class. I grew up middle class. I am still middle class. I live in a low income middle class neighborhood. And guess what? That neighborhood's strongly Republican. I live in the country. So there's two. But yes, I once again, coming from a middle class perspective, I am conservative. So why should I talk? Well, here's the experience I went through during Bidenflation and Bidenomics and just the Biden tenure in general. I don't have a job. I'm unemployed. I never had a job before. True to a point. Yeah, I never had a job. I was never employed. So that's why you see me posting videos all the time. But soon I will. So, but that's part of the reason why I'm doing so badly is I'm not employed, but I have to carry coins around. I have a jar of coins in my bedroom. I literally have to scoop up the quarters. If I don't have any quarters, I go to dimes. And then I go to nickels. And it's very hard to get a dollar bill for me. I literally have to walk a dog to get $5. So I walk my neighbor's dogs. A little personal story about me, but this is a life of a middle class. I mean, and a lot of people will go and say that I'm just between middle class and poor to general. I never have been on a plane. I have been on the plane, and the first time I've been on a plane was last year. My whole entire life, we haven't left the Midwest in my life, and that was the very first time I left the Midwest. Um, at 19 years old, I went to Las Vegas. If you didn't know, but I've always been in the Midwest, and there again. Then again, I can't leave the state. If we leave the state, like to Wisconsin, we would have to do some planning. So Wisconsin's probably the only state we can go to. But I did go to Iowa a few days ago, and then again, very sane state. I love Iowa. I love it. I absolutely love Iowa. It lifts your spirits, and this shows a lot because Iowa's just like Minnesota, but it's way more conservative than Minnesota is just stupid. It's just stupid. I'm sorry, Minnesotans. We can agree. Or if you're a conservative Minnesotan, can you agree? Everyone here whines and complains about the taxes. Whines and complains about the economy and the once again the inflation and recession going on, and they're like, this is hurting us so bad. And guess what they do? They go and vote Democrat. And this isn't even a Trump-involved state. We have politicians that are moderate, like Scott Jensen running in this state, and they throw him under the bus, and they instead elect Tim Waltz, the guy who burnt down Minneapolis. If this guy was the president, he would be the most unpopular president. But here, he never, I don't think he ever went down. I think he went down once in approval, but he's still above water. This guy, this is why I'm telling you guys, we can't underestimate Tim Waltz. He's strong. Tim Waltz is strong. He's a strong player, and he knows how to get rural votes. And now maybe we'll talk about that in another video, but we're talking about tax on tips, and I'm explaining to you, Kamala Harris, she knows she's on a good position, but she's not done. She wants to keep pedaling. She wants to keep going on the grabs. So that's why she's going to aim more at middle class voters. But does she not know that her, as you know, being so tied in with Biden-Harris, the Biden-Harris administration in general, does she not know that she contributed to the middle class being hurt? Well, Kamala Harris does know that a lot of Americans are stupid, and that a lot of Americans honestly care about what's going on in the country with the economy, but they care really more about identity politics. They go and say, "Oh, woman, it's the second woman running. This is our chance. Let's get the first woman president. I can guarantee you that's what everyone is thinking. We need, and Jesse Ventura, deranged Jesse Ventura, used to be a centrist, by the way, and he went super far left. He's now saying, I want to be alive to see the first woman president. That's what America needs. No, America needs the economy. America needs a better economy. America needs a better and safer borders. America needs, as you know, just unity in general. And this guy's wanting a woman to be the first press? I don't think it matters. Identity politics has gone so bad in this country. I can guarantee you 80% of Americans are involved in identity politics. There are very little Americans that will vote based on policy. You're either voting on political party, political affiliation, in other words, you're voting on religion, you're voting on race, you're voting on sexual identity or gender, you're voting on identity politics. And that's not right. So taxes on tips, Kamala Harris knows this is a good idea. She's basically agreeing with Trump. She's never ever going to say it though. But the deal is, yes, it is absolutely frustrating. And people ask me, do you think this is going to tank Kamala in the polls? Well, I honestly do not know, because the Harris campaign is smarter than we think. We know, honestly, our strategists are saying, okay, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get Trump to turn on himself. That's what they're trying to do. Use Trump against Trump and counter or just go walk back his comments and agenda to use tax on tips. I think Trump needs, and along with the Trump administration, we need to point this out. Hey, this is what they're trying to do. It's quite obvious. At the same time, trying to grab more middle class voters, and by doing that, is trying to make Trump walk back. They're trying to use Trump's intelligence against him, and once again, this is quite obvious. So yes, Kamala Harris is a thief. Tim Waltz is a thief. He stole military valor to benefit his campaign, and now Kamala Harris is going to be stealing Trump's plans as president for his campaign. I mean, this woman went as far as campaigning in not the same place. Trump announced it at Trump Tower. This lady campaigned in some stadium and convention center. She goes and says, "No tax on tips." How about no? How about? And she uses the same wording. No tax on tips, even though it's on no tax for tips. Or she could have said, I guess it really doesn't matter. Her speech is similar to Trump's. She went as far as declaring that they would protect Social Security. Same thing that Donald Trump said that the left really, really doesn't want us to keep saying. They claim to be the party of information, but really they're the party of disinformation. They're the party of gaslighting. Because really, in the party of information, that's what they want you to think. That's why they go after you, and they'll say, oh, that's misinformation. Well, it's misinformation only if it goes against the Democrat Party. But, for instance, they're trying to erase all the articles that announced that Biden appointed Kamala Harris as border czar. They're grifting and gaslighting to us, saying, "Oh, Kamala Harris was never the border czar." Really? Well, we can pull up footage on YouTube. Oh, nope, that footage is slowly going to be deleted over time. But yeah, Americans aren't that dumb, guys. Americans aren't that dumb. We're dumb, but we aren't that dumb. And I use the word dumb because if we weren't dumb, Kamala Harris wouldn't have a chance. Joe Biden and Democrats in general wouldn't have a chance. This lady, who we claim is incompetent, well, I say she's somewhat competent because she's grifting so many Americans. And she's herself and beyond on the behalf of the Democrat Party and the liberal media are saying, look at the color of your skin and look at my skin. Look at me. Together, we can get me to be the president of the United States and we can make history. Skin color instead of policy. And they never talk about policy. And how long has Kamala Harris been in the race? 3 weeks. And 3 weeks, she already has her policy plan. First policy plan, no tax on tips. Wow, Kamala. Wow. I mean, it's kind of funny because how in general, seeing that this lady was instated in a coup, the Democrats hounded on Joe Biden to drop out, and without any sort of contest, Kamala Harris just jumps right in. Plop, jumps right in. No one got to choose this woman. I guess she's like running as an independent, where you don't really do a primary. JFK never did a RFK Jr. never was primary. That's because the independent isn't a political party. It's basically anyone that it doesn't have a platform. You could be a conservative, you could be a left winger, you could be whatever you want. It doesn't have a platform. That's why it's not a political party, and that's why they don't have primaries. Well, Kamala Harris pulled the independent and basically jumped right in without any sort of contest. No, any sort of challenge. The convention is sort of her challenge, but we already know Kamala Harris just picked up all of Joe Biden's delegates. What did she do to earn those delegates? Nothing. Nothing at all. Joe Biden spent 6 months winning all those delegates, and just a month later he drops out. All for those candidates, those delegates, to go to someone else. That's ridiculous. And not to mention, 14 million Democrats voted for Joe Biden. They didn't vote for another Democrat. Why is Kamala Harris involved? Really, we should be asking, in reality, Dean Phillips. What about Dean Phillips? Dean Phillips, Marianne Williamson should be your options, because Kamala Harris didn't even attempt to run for president. Nope, she just sat down and watched popcorn. And sat down and ate popcorn. So, very annoying. And yeah, but they wouldn't let Dean Phillips. They wouldn't even let Dean Phillips in if they even wanted to. Dean Phillips is just too moderate. And you got Marianne Williamson, who's not even a politician. So really, you got this lady here. But really, Marianne Williamson, Jason Palmer, not a politician. The only politician is Dean Phillips. But yeah, you got someone in who's running. And usually, if this was a normal political party, we'd be against this. Hey, we didn't choose this lady. But you know what? As long as it's a woman, you don't have to choose the lady. You got what you want, right? A woman, and it's a person of color. Diversity. DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And without saying anything, being out of the public eye, her polls go skyrocketed. That's literally our country, guys. That's our country, right here. So my hopes is we get the curve, but there's also possibility like, hey, it's DNC's coming up in, like, I think it's next week. It's today's Sunday, so it's not this week. Next week is the DNC. I am not looking forward to it. I think we already, this is what I think we need to do. Get the polls back up. Get Trump back up in the polls. And then expect a DNC comeback for Kamala. The reason why I say this is, what's the point of trying? Well, if we don't try, we're just going to go tank all the way down. if we put momentum and effort into keeping our polls up, we'll stay in bounds. A lot of people say Donald Trump is waiting till the convention to be over. Well, we'll see. We will see. Donald Trump, I would highly advise he needs to be more involved. And part of the reason is Red Eagle politics. He's saying, oh, Donald Trump, he has a plan. He's trying to make everyone focus on Kamala. You see that, but that's risky. That's risky, though. That's very risky because if you put everyone in attention to Kamala, then Kamala's speaking, and everyone's supposed to believe, and you're expecting everyone to believe, to be disgusted and disgraced with Kamala Harris. But what about more left-wingers or Democrats that are pleased with Kamala? So yeah, she's getting attention regardless, so that causes a significance in the polls. People are talking about her. And people forget about Donald Trump. What's the other guy's name? And honestly, I doubt that people aren't going to forget about Donald Trump's name. I'm not saying that. But you'll go as far as saying, oh, when was the last time Trump launched a rally? And in general, it makes Donald Trump look tired. Makes Donald Trump look weak. Understandably, yes. He survived an assassination attempt, but not all Americans are going to realize that. Especially the really dumb ones aren't. So yes, campaign hard. And when Kamala gets the nomination, every day, every ad, we need to tackle this. This is America's witch. We have to stop her. We cannot let this woman become president. This country will fall apart. And this whole entire country, the whole entire world will be calling us weird. You think Shady Vance is weird? We will be weird. Because we elected a woman based off the color of her skin and her genitalia. I'm being completely blunt here. Instead of the policy and recognizing the problems of what is going on. So what do you guys think? Let me know down below. And as always, see you all in the next political episode.